Trust in God's provision power. Hey, what's up? It's Patrick. It's Rose via Fire. And I pray this message reaches who it needs to reach. So let's talk about trust in God's provision power. You know what I'm saying? So, one thing that I'm noticing in my walk with God, you know what I'm saying? Because I like to share the experiences that I go through in my walk with God. So, one thing that I'm noticing is that it comes a season in your walk with God, bruh, where you just gonna have to trust in God's provision power. You know what I'm saying? You done did your best, you done did your part. Now it's time for you to just sit back and enjoy God's provision power. You know what I'm saying? Trust in God's provision power. And when you see God's provision power, one thing that I'm noticing about God's provision power is that God will consistently open doors for you. I'm not talking about one door. I'm talking about He opened doors here and there and there just to keep you in the game, bro. You know what I'm saying? God is going to keep you in the game, bro, especially if you are obedient to His calling for your life and you are walking in His purpose for your life. Man, God is going to be opening doors to keep you going on your path for Him. As long as you align with God's will for your life and God's path for your life, God is going to continue to open those doors to provide for you, man. You know what I'm saying? God's provision power is real. You know what I'm saying? And as of right now, man, I'm just enjoying God's provision power for real, bro. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna lie. I know this type of honesty might glitch the phantom zone, bro, but sometimes I be stressing, you know what I'm saying? Even though I know God is gonna provide, sometimes the situation just hits you, man. Like you feel as though you're not at peace because you can't see your way through things, man. Let's keep it real, bro. We struggle with real things. Like when you can't see through things sometimes and the pressure starts to hit your life, and you could start to stress out a little bit, bro. Let's keep it real. But, you know, as long as you keep it real with God, man, like, and you ask for God's help, man, God's provision power is so real, bro. God will open door after door after door after door after door. I'm talking about God is going to be consistent. God ain't just going to open one door and just run. No, bruh. No, bruh. God is going to be faithful. God is going to be consistent. You are faithful to God, so God is going to be faithful to you. It's a deal for a deal. God is going to be consistent because you are consistent in your calling. You are consistent in your purpose. So as long as you're consistent in your purpose and in your calling for God, God is going to be consistent in opening doors for you and making sure you're straight, bruh. I done seen God opening doors that done glitched the matrix. I'm like, Lord, how you open that door? It was closed yesterday. The door was closed 2 business days ago. I tried the door again. I'm pulling the handle of the door. The door opening. 5 business minutes ago, the door was locked. Now the door is open. Now the door is open. Come on, bruh. God's provision power, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, God's provision power, it is so real, man. It is so real, bro. And I done seen God just open doors back to back to back, bro. You know what I'm saying? I done seen God open doors. I done seen God provide over and over again, bro. You know what I'm saying? And that's pretty much everything I wanted to say, bro. God's provision power. Trust in God's provision power, man. Trust in God's provision power, man. And, like, don't give up on God, man. Keep trusting God. Keep obeying God's calling and God's plan for your life. And God is going to provide, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, just because God is going to provide for you doesn't mean that everything is going to be easy. There's not going to be pressure. Nah, there's going to be pressure. And sometimes things ain't going to be easy. But God is still going to provide. Because I feel like sometimes we have this misconception that God providing means there is no pressure. You know, it's everything easy. No, that's not what it means. It means that even though times is hard and things are rough, God is going to find a way to provide, bro. You know what I'm saying? God is going to give you the God is going to give you happiness again, bro. God is going to give you rest in your spirit because you've been working so hard, bro. You know what I'm saying? You've been working so hard. You've been grinding, man. You've been staying faithful to God, man. And yeah, pretty much that's basically everything I wanted to say, bro. Trust in God's provision power, because God's provision power is gonna get you through. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna help you. Where everybody else will fail, God's provision power is gonna make sure you're still afloat and you're still winning. And you just gonna be more than afloat, bro. You're gonna be thriving for real. You ain't just gonna be floating. You're gonna be thriving all the way in the sky for real, bro. God's provision power, bro. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people, they don't have God's provision power on their life. When you don't have God's provision power on your life, especially in the times that we're living in, to whereas the system is wicked, rent going higher, everything going higher, all the prices of food, everything going higher. You know, so without God's provision power, in times like this, bro, it's easy to go homeless, bro. In times like this, when the government is being wicked and all these weird politicians, all these politics, all these demonic people, bro. In times like this, bro, you're going to see who has God's provision power and who doesn't. You're going to see who has God's provision power and who doesn't, for real. Because a lot of these people, man, they ran from God's calling for their life. They rejected God. So when things get rough and when the system starts like being wicked, they are washed away because they don't have a foundation in God's calling for their life. They are not able to sustain because they don't have God's provision power. And I encourage y'all, bro, get God's provision power. And you may be like, oh, I'm a million. Let's say you're a millionaire listening to this. You're going to be like, oh, I'm a millionaire. I don't need God's provision power. It don't matter if the system is raising the prices and this and that. Let me tell you something. God's provision power is so powerful, bro, to whereas even if you are rich, even if you are a millionaire and you can afford everything, bro, God's provision power is too deep. God's provision power will protect you from all types of like things, bro, that you can't even see, bro. You know what I'm saying? A storm come wipe down your entire house down, bro. Because you're running from God, bro. God will literally send a storm, punish you. Send a tornado, punish you. Send an earthquake, wipe you out. You know what I'm saying? You got planes flying into buildings. You got cars just, all type of end times type stuff, man. You know what I'm saying? God's provision power gonna make sure you're straight, irregardless of what happens. So this is deeper than just being rich and being a millionaire, bro. God's provision power is undefeated. And God is going to put you in a position where you need to depend on God's provision power. So you can't run from this, irregardless of if you're rich or poor or whatever you is. You cannot run from the fact that you need God's provision power. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's basically everything I wanted to say, bro. Trust in God's provision power, bro. Because God's provision power is real. Because I done seen it for myself. And I testify, bro. I done seen it for real, bro. You know what I'm saying? And that basically everything I wanted to say. I wanted to do this message to encourage the right people. And I pray that y'all people out there, you earn God's provision power, bro. God ain't gonna give you stuff for free, bro. You gotta earn it, bro. You gotta step in. You gotta come on into the kingdom, repent. You know what I'm saying? Put in the hard work. Get in your calling, get in your purpose for God. Stay loyal, bro. Put in the work. Don't be lazy. You know what I'm saying? You gotta earn everything when it comes to God, bro. But that basically everything I wanted to say, bro. Trust in God's provision power, bro. Peace.